Following is a paid program and does not necessarily reflect the views of WSIC.
Bad boys, what you want, what you want, what you gonna do when Chevy John Brown come for you?
The Good, the Bad, and the Guilty is recorded live with the men and women of law enforcement. All suspects are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Now, here's your host, Iredell County Sheriff Darren Campbell.
Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you?
Welcome, everyone, to The Good, the Bad, and the Guilty Wednesday evening. I promise you it's going to be the fastest radio show on WSIC in an hour.
It sure feels like it is.
We're going to put an hour and 30 minutes.
Allergies.
Just kidding. I know, allergies, everybody's killing. So, today we've got a kind of cool show. I'm joined by Bill Hamby, our chief, and also if you see across from me, we have a couple of our guys. Austin Joyce, who's a former Marine, works with us. How long have you been with us, Austin?
About 3.5 years.
About 3.5 years. And then Heath Pennell. Heath, you're from Alexander, one of our dog handlers. How long have you been here?
About 6 years now.
And you work our interstate team.
I do.
You're a warrant squad, Austin. But both of you have one thing in common, which is
13,
which is our Sheriff's Emergency Response Team. So, in the light, we had a lot of calls about this, and before I go any further, and I about forgot, let me give you our numbers to call in, because I'd love for anybody to call in at any time if they have questions. 844-STUDIO-4, which is 844-788-3464. You can see the streaming video live on WSIC on the news app, and it's also available on Google Play and iOS. So, just want to get that out of the way, and obviously, we encourage people to come in. This has been a sad week for law enforcement. You know, first, I want to say before we even start the show is our prayers and thoughts and our hearts are truly with the families of Joshua Ayer of Charlotte Mecklenburg Police, Sam Pelosi of North Carolina Department of Adult Corrections, Alden Elliott, who was here in our probation office, if I'm not mistaken, in Statesville, North Carolina Department of Adult Corrections, and Thomas Weeks, Jr., U.S. Marshal Service, Deputy Marshal, and all members of the task force, the Fugitive Task Force. And, you know, we work with a lot of them guys. Y'all know them. We know them. Bill knows them. So we just want to keep him in our thoughts and prayer today. They had a procession come up from the ME's office back to Mooresville for U.S. Marshal Weeks. And,
You went down and took part in that?
I did.
Yeah.
We went down and wanted to see, you know, and the first thing I thought, and we went down to Langtree Road, and the first thing I thought, it's become too common, and it shouldn't be. And that's one of the things we want to talk with y'all. A lot of people ask me, and I told one of the guys I was just talking to, probably 25 different emails that's asking us to do this show sort of on this. And I know it's sort of flying by the seat of our pants because, for one, we're coming up in next Tuesday, we will have the Law Enforcement Memorial Service, the families that was
Peace Officers Memorial.
Peace Officer Memorial that was killed in North Carolina last year. And they're going to do it at Beulah Baptist. And going into that, we are going to go in with 8 days prior to that, when Tuesday gets here, to the most tragic day in the history of North Carolina as far as law enforcement officers getting killed less than 30 miles from us.
You know, and Sheriff, just to kind of bring it even closer to home, one of our last sex offender verification checks, Alden Elliott and Thomas Weeks were both here at the office working with our folks. They took part in that. So these folks have been here in Iredell County. They have worked with us here in Iredell County. And it's tragic. And like you say, it's one of those things where, you know, and I know it sounds cliche when you hear the reporters say it, that we knew, all of us knew around this table and all the other officers listening, that this could happen, but you would never anticipate that it would happen like this, you know, so close to home. I too have received many emails, and thank you for everyone that's reached out to the sheriff, reached out to our office, reached out to myself. You know, offering to pray for us, pray for our officers, checking on our officers, making sure they're okay. Our community is amazing, and I just want to say thank you for that.
You know, and Bill, I do want to echo that. The community has been unbelievably supportive of us, and always has been, as well as, and I got to give hats off to our board of commissioners, and
absolutely,
to make a decision to equip us with some of our equipment. You know, some of the stuff we've had the foresight, and I put a post on my personal one, and I want the people to see, you know, I got a little bit of flack whenever we went and purchased the Bearcat, the armored personnel carrier. at that time we'd seen the trend towards law enforcement. There's things that we see, we try to forecast out, I guess, 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And we knew you don't think of it here in Little Iredell, and that's what I was asked for. We're almost 200, if not more than 200,000 people. We're just north of Charlotte. We have Forsyth on one side, and we used drug dealers' money to get it. And that's when a lot of people said, why do you need that? We're not Chicago. We're not Miami. But I think it's proved its point. And that thing has been involved in three shootings now. And one of my biggest worries, people ask me, what do I worry about? And it's going to bed every night knowing if y'all, you young ones that's in, and the officers come home in the morning. And we're going to stand by that. So,
well, if you may, Sheriff, and I like to go one step further, just to add on what you said. When we first purchased the Bearcat, it was with dope dealer money. Let's be very clear. And then, well, why y'all got that? We're not Chicago. We're not Atlanta. Y'all are going to militarize law enforcement. Let me just say that for the folks that made those statements, and you know who you are, the last time the sheriff, myself, and these two gentlemen across the table from us were being shot at, I don't think they were there.
Yeah, it's an open invitation if you'd like
to
come sit in it.
because I've been in the back of that thing when it's got shot.
If you want to strap them on and come with us, call the sheriff and come on.
It is. And now I will say this: out of the comments, I have not. You can still find, but I have not seen one of them. And when I say it, very, very, very small amount that said it. But just make sure, trust your law enforcement. We're going to make the best decision when we can. But we've got the equipment comparable to anybody. There's other things we're looking at. Some people had asked about the robot. We learned down in Oswald Amity when we had the individuals, which just recently, that's one of Bill's press release. We've made another 3 arrests in that murder. We'll get that in a little bit. But when you're in there possibly hostages and the case down in Mooresville, I can either have y'all. Here's the dilemma I'm with. I've got an individual in a residence shooting. Then they go silent, okay? In Oswald Amity was those hostages. In this case, was he going to shoot more? Do you know how tough a decision it is to take a living officer to send in to make sure that he has stopped firing so he don't hurt nobody else? So, point being to all that, we borrowed a robot from the United States Marshal Service. That's the way we end up finding him. First time we didn't have that option. He came out firing at us, and luckily, he didn't come home, and y'all did. So, we're going to get passionate about this, but in the end, and I got to give hats off to another. We've got a Senator, Vicky Sawyer, who has been advocate about supporting law enforcement, as well as our House members, Gray Mills, Jeff McNeely, and Mitchell Setzer. Mm-hmm. But we are blessed by good legislators to help us, too, because yesterday I spoke to Vicky Sawyer. She goes, what do you need? What do you need? They've helped us a lot. So we're going to take a break, and you'll hear him coming into y'all's thing, but then we're going to get into y'all's side of it. We sort of opened up the floor to what it's going to be. Mm-hmm. Call us with any questions, opinions, maybe how we can do things better, something we've not thought of. But I want to get into the equipment that y'all dealt with and what it was like in dealing with these situations. And from a perspective of being in an active shooting, like they had 100 rounds, they're projecting. We had 141, I think, in Mooresville the other week, and over 225 in Oswald Amity about a month ago, fired at our officers. And the way we're equipped and the way we've been supported and been able to equip you from our communities.
So we'll be back here shortly, Sheriff.
I think we got about 30 seconds. Do y'all want to?
Yeah, I'll just jump in and say thanks for having us. And quickly, another aspect of this equipment that I don't see mentioned very often other than officer protection is also allows our negotiators to have more time with these suspects to possibly calm them down versus being rushed or our hand to be forced.
And we'll hit that as soon as we come back. We're going to take a break. We'll be back in about 2 minutes.
There's more of The Good, the Bad, and the Guilty with Iredell County Sheriff. 98.7 WSIC.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in today to The Good, the Bad, and the Guilty here on WSIC. This is one of those shows where we would love for you to call in, talk with us, talk with two of our CERT team members, talk with Sheriff Campbell. The number here to the studio is 844-788-3464 or 844-STUDIO-4. You can also watch us on streaming video at WSIC News app. We are available on iOS and Google Play. And Sheriff, as you like to say, for us old people in the room, Facebook.
Absolutely.
So
we're trying to watch the comments and see what's happening. We got a lot of them watching, so that's a good thing.
I believe we had a caller call in during the break, sir.
We do. I believe our production manager said William's on the line. And William, we're going to try this. He's entrusted us to answer the phone. So we're going to try this.
Hello, William. Are you there?
Hey, guys. How are y'all doing today?
Hey, sir. How are you?
Well, Bill, Darren, and all you law enforcement officers, I know you guys are having a heavy heart right now, and I just wanted to express my deepest condolences to each and every one of y'all in law enforcement, and just know that I'm thinking about you fellows and women too, and my heart's heavy too. The words fail. I don't know what to say about what happened the other day, other than it was just probably another day for you guys to a point. But I was just going to ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
I understand that, if I'm not mistaken, I understand there were some juveniles possibly in that incident that took place in Charlotte the other day.
There may have been one, from what I understand from news reports, William.
It does, William. It seems like they said a 17-year-old was a
female
person of
and
interest.
A 17-year-old, yes.
Yes. So
yeah.
I know Charlotte Mecklenburg's I don't know exactly what I know. Charlotte Mecklenburg's handling the case, but we did hear that also.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that juvenile and everybody involved. I mean, because it was a senseless situation. It should have been deferred. It could have went another way. But obviously that decisions have consequences, and that suspect decided to do what he did, and y'all had to act on it. But unfortunately, people didn't walk away from that alive, and it's just, my heart's real heavy right now for you guys, and I just wanted to express my condolences, and if there's anything that I can do other than what the community's already doing, thoughts and prayers go out to each and every one of y'all.
Man, we do appreciate it, and our community's unbelievably makes, I don't know the words for it, humble. We're just
amazing.
Humbled. And it wasn't our age, so we had a lot of, the guys, two of them was from up here. But, we worked together. And then my things, like I've told Bill, I worry a lot about the officer safety, and I worry about what your spouses think. Because it's hard for a spouse to watch this and encourage you to stay in this job, especially the way it's got. So, William, thank you very much. We appreciate it, brother.
All right, you take care, all right?
William, hey, stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sheriff, just to echo what you were saying, my boy called me from Western Carolina. He's like, Dad, are you good? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. He goes, do we know anybody? I'm like, honey, I don't know. It's too early to tell. Because he had met by being around Michelle where she used to work. He had met two of these officers. So, there's he knowing it.
They do. And like I said, I went down today and I took Lawson, my youngest one, wanted to go. He had seen it on the news and he wanted to go. So he went down and got to participate. So it's tough. And I do worry about y'all. I worry about the younger ones. I worry it's one, we've seen our times. Bill and I went to, officer was killed in Davidson. That we went to school with, and you know what's bad?
His family will be there next week.
Yeah, and it's something we've dealt with for years, and you think of the cases back that's happened to the Elkin officer that we've dealt with in our career, and you'll see it. And I was talking to Lawson today, and I said, when next time? He goes, there probably won't be a next time. I'm talking about the procession today. I said, there's always going to be a next time, which is sad. And, that's what I thought. It's way too often. We shouldn't have to do it. Somebody's going to have to make some decisions to keep some of this, because every one of them, our case, and from what I'm understanding about Charlotte cases, and I'll lump this into 80% of our other cases, what we've been talking about. Go ahead. You know what?
Go ahead, because I'm ready.
Career and repeat offenders. This guy in Charlotte was wanted on felony charges, which means he'd been convicted. Our guys, pending histories, we see it all the time. So, Bill, let's kick it to them. And say,
let me just, here again, let me just back up what you're saying, Sheriff, and maybe add a point of personal privilege. You always hear folks, man, what can I do? What can we do to help you? Man, this is tragic. What can we do? Grieve, obviously grieve with us, and we do appreciate that. But get involved. Contact your district attorney's offices across the state of North Carolina. Contact your legislators. Contact your law enforcement officials. Tell them you got their back, and demand that we finally stop the foolishness, stop this senselessness of letting these criminal sheriffs. I don't know how many times we've done press releases, and it's felony after felony after felony after felony, serious felonies, assaults, robberies, murders, rapes.
And our communities don't deserve it.
And they're still out walking around on the dadgone streets of Iredell County that these guys and our men and women are having to deal with constantly. Mr. Joyce, how many times since you've been on the warrant squad have you served warrants on a career and repeat offender?
Oh, quite a few times, and enough so that I build relationships with them, either positive or negative. But sometimes there's several felony charges, and 2 weeks later I see them walking, and that's a problem for another day I know I have to deal with.
And Heath, how many times have you guys on the interstate stopped someone either from North Carolina or from outside the state, and they're either illegal or they're career and repeat offenders? I mean, Sheriff, I don't know how you can make it any clearer. The foolishness has got to stop.
I'm trying to figure out how many times. No, I mean, really, how many times on the interstate do you deal with career repeat offenders that's got history? I mean, New York,
Honestly,
where?
countless. I mean, every day we're dealing with different people that's had a history of some kind of crime in the past that we're having to deal with today.
See, that's unbelievable. And there's one thing I remember from my college days, which I remember more, but I do remember one thing. And Bill, you was right there with me. So,
yes, sir.
Anytime the benefit of the crime outweighs the risk of the punishment, you will have crime. We're fixing to read a press release here on a murder, a double murder, and it's got two 15-year-olds and a 17-year-old that we're dealing with. We have preached about the supply and demand of drugs driving down the market, driving down the price, which increases crime, and we know that. But it's high time, and the community's been with us, and I don't know what the rest of the country thinks. I know we're strong here, but we've got to remember who you vote for, remember the judges, like Bill says, ADAs, who support our law enforcement. We've got to make sure we do it on a local level with funding to make sure that we have people that fund us, and we do have it here. But I feel sorry. Them officers down there, and
And you talk about raise the age. I was listening to a TED Talk where the presenter actually made a great point. He said, guys, before you tear a fence down, ask the person who put the fence up why they put it there. We just said, oh, these poor children, let's just raise the age so we don't stigmatize these poor children. And now what are we dealing with? 3 that we've arrested and probably a 17-year-old down his yard.
And that's just the tip. That's
just the tip of the spear.
All right, Heath, we've been preaching, and you too, Austin. Tell us a little bit about what it was like from y'all's perspective on either call. You can talk about the other Saturday when we had one of our officers shot on the edge of her thigh, and having the Bearcat and the equipment that we have. I want to let the people know we have the capability. But we have to be able to get that capability. So Heath, what was it like when the guy shooting at you and had an armor, some vehicle and shields and vest and night vision and all the other cool stuff?
Yeah, I'll just touch back. We're extremely lucky to have the equipment that we have.
Tell us what it was like down there.
It's
either one of
It's a hard thing to describe, to be honest with you, when you're getting, excess of 200, 300 rounds shot at you, and it's a different story. It's a hard feeling to describe.
And one thing I do want to say, people hadn't thought of this, but it's Saturday morning when I was coming down there, and think about the worst time in a neighborhood, close neighborhood down in Mooresville, Bridgeport. I can't remember the name of the street, but either way, at 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning, every kid's out of school. Everybody's either up watching TV. They hadn't got ready to go to soccer or nothing, and we got a guy firing 140 rounds with a .308 rifle, SKS, and buckshot.
Yeah, I mean, people were out walking their dogs. I mean, there was a wedding fixing to occur where we were at the command post, and there again, Sheriff, and you bring up a great point. Just from a manpower standpoint, to muster all our forces and to get them there to handle the situation. I was down there. You were there. A thing of beauty. I mean, I don't want to pat ourselves on the back because that only gets you in trouble. But I don't know it could have went any smoother.
And y'all do the heavy lifting. Y'all make us look good. Listen, we've served our time. That's like down at the lake. I think you was one of them that jumped off the boat today.
Oh yeah.
And said, "Don't I feel sorry for you?" No, because I had to do it back in the day.
Sir,
Go ahead, Austin.
Off of what he said, I'll tell the listeners here, despite what movies in Hollywood may make it seem like, there's nothing glamorous for lack of a better term, war. It's psychologically challenging. It's in human nature to, your body tells you this is not natural. But it comes down to looking next to you, the guys to your left and to your right, and that cause being greater than yourself, and that's what it is.
And you served. You were in the Marine Corps.
Yes, sir.
You served combat?
No, sir.
But you still know what it's like to be a brotherhood and a sisterhood, and you know what it's like to be in combat, and you know what training. Have you ever seen anything comparable to what we've seen in the last month?
No, sir. I've been preparing psychologically for it prior to it happening with the great training that we're offered here at Iredell County. And I'll emphasize by saying I'm not even from Iredell, but I heard the reputation and the resources, and that this is a superior agency, which is why I'm here, far away from my home.
Get that boy a raise. Now, I like get that boy a raise.
Here.
Heath, can you top that?
Yeah, I can't top that. I guess my pace will stay the same.
Yeah.
Hey, it does us good. Listen, you officers, I mean, listen, not just y'all, everybody, top to bottom. Now, we aggravate y'all, we pick, but it is a close family here. And you all, guys, girls, from jail to, is our best recruiting tool that we have to other people. We're going to be full. We're graduating 8 in BLET, I think 8. We'll be coming up, but
it's going to be several,
all
yes.
but be full, at least on the enforcement side. So, but I think we're going to take a break. But I do want to come back in, Austin and Heath, you both, and maybe go through the calls, what we can say. We can't say everything, but we can at least let know what it's like. Let the listeners know what it's like to be down there from what y'all dealt with.
And real quick before we leave, just one thing you guys can be thinking during the commercial. What would we have done without the equipment and the vest and the Bearcat had we not had this equipment? Y'all think about that. We'll talk about it when we come back. What we have versus what could have happened had we not had the resources that we were able to get.
And please, if you want to call, the number is 844-STUDIO-4, which is 844-788-3464. We'd love to hear you. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
Don't go anywhere. We'll have more of the good, the bad, and the guilty coming up right after these messages on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC. Local starts here. The Guilty continues now. Here's your host, Iredell County Sheriff Darren Campbell on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
You know, you see he's in there grinning when the music plays.
Joe, you make me happy, buddy.
This is my favorite part of the show.
I
When you
sure
hear
it
that
is.
and you start smiling.
I love it. Love my Alfred Hitchcock music. Ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you so much for tuning in today to The Good, the Bad, the Guilty here on WSIC. Got some fine representatives of Iredell County Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Campbell, myself, Austin Joyce, and Heath
We're
Pitt.
not the good representation.
Yeah, no, they are, obviously. But we are talking about our CERT team. We're talking about some of the situations they've recently been in. If you want to call in, please do. 704, I'm sorry, whoa, stop that. 844-788-3464. Again, that's 844-788-3464. We are streaming live on the WSIC News app. We're available on iOS and Google Play and the Facebooks, as my mama used to say.
Facebooks.
The Facebooks.
Facebooks. So I didn't forgot where we were at, but you had something very good on the break, or one of y'all did, saying something. But basically, I guess, I know, Heath, you said it was hard to explain what you experienced. But I guess the big thing is how much did the equipment and how much did your training pay off to make sure that y'all and everybody and civilians came out safe?
It paid off enough for us to be sitting here right now doing this radio show. Heath and I specifically had a couple tasks to complete out there on Oswald Amity, where we looked at each other and, said every prayer we had and told each other we loved each other, and then went to complete that task with the greater goal in mind than, ourselves. So that equipment was responsible for us sitting here today.
So, Austin, it kind of where we were before we went off, I know you guys are equipped with the best that the Sheriff's Office can give you for our regular day-to-day activities.
So far, yeah.
But when the CERT team is operated or initiated, activated, thanks, Sheriff. When the CERT team is initiated, you guys bring a whole different level to bear.
Right.
So maybe, Heath, if you want to, or Austin, tell us the difference. I mean, y'all are kitted out good with some good stuff today. I mean, don't get me wrong. But when you guys roll out, you bring that extra level. So what is some of that extra equipment? Obviously, the Bearcat and other things like that, but like for your personal safety.
I'm a little, I'll say, luckier than Austin, even because the sheriff allowed us to get these vests, and they do have the plates inside the vest, being a canine handler. But with the CERT team, it's thicker plates, it's heavier plates that'll stop a bigger round, if that makes sense.
So now, for those that may not be familiar with what you're talking about, would that be something similar like ballistic armor, body armor, things
correct.
like that?
Yes,
okay.
sir.
All right.
Yep. Yeah, and just different tools altogether. We carry what we have, on the road doing our daily jobs, that when we get activated, we get to kind of open that toolbox and use different tools kind of thing. Right.
Well, there's a lot of things, even, and when we say the patrol officers, that's where we all come from. We all come patrol, and I went through CERT team, served on it, and whatever. But a lot of times it's just a mere capability that a tactical team can bring as a last resort, because if it gets bad, there's nobody else to call. We have nobody else to call. Right. I mean, who else are we going to call if things go bad? Who would we call to Bridgeport? We can call for support from another agency. In the end, it's our responsibility.
I mean, you guys are kind of that knot at the end of the rope, and I think that's really neat. And we were talking, Sheriff, before you arrived earlier today. Some of the training you guys go through, the multiple aspects of training. I mean, I'm sure there may be a situation that, I mean, obviously I can't think of any offhand, because if we could think of them, we train for them. But tell our listeners kind of some of the things that you guys train for.
Some of those circumstances, woodland ops, even water deployments with Lake Norman falling within our county. Basically, like you said, every circumstance that you can conjure up, we're prepared for them. We have the resources. We also bring in highly trained individuals with different backgrounds that specialize in different things that can pass their knowledge on to us, and then that we can grow on amongst ourselves.
One thing I'll notice, and I'm not telling no big trade secrets, but the bad guys talk amongst themselves too. There are certain websites that we know through dark web and other things where they analyze, just like we analyze active shooters. But I noticed one thing on Fox News that they said yesterday, and they said they were out, basically the police in Charlotte was at such a disadvantage because of a platform shooter or an upstairs person. We've had that. We had that last week.
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, I'm sorry. We trained for it, but that is a hard thing to deal with when we're responding on the ground and you have somebody fire a weapon at you from up high. So we do train. We do have ways that we can overcome it. Basic, I think. We have resources that we can reach out. We learned from that. We knew it was coming. We had planned that. But this has become a trend. It's happened within the last 2 weeks here. Or 3, 2 weeks now. Because we had it in Mooresville and Charlotte had it. And that's one thing that made, if you see on the news, that's where the guy was shooting from the second floor. Officers, it's above them. They can't see in. They can tell with shooter can retreat and all that good stuff. So, and y'all seen that down in Mooresville.
That and also the Oswald shooting from deep within the room, not exposing themselves, kind of thing.
And that was military. He had some military training. He knew what he was doing, and a sharpshooter has that same training. So, yes, you're exactly right. And then on top of that, we didn't know was juveniles hostages or what the deal was. And now we're gonna hit that press. I want to talk about that press release.
Well, going back to training, one of the things that I've witnessed you guys execute was an active shooter response in a school. We did that for a group of citizens not too long ago in a school bus. You guys were awesome. And obviously we're not getting into trade secrets on the radio, but the way you handled it and what you did to deploy was just a thing of beauty. I mean, it really was. I'm not bragging on you because you're here, but there again, if we can think of it from a law enforcement standpoint to train for it, bad guys can think about it to execute it to try to harm people. So kudos to you guys for just having that open-mindedness and that ability. And the neat thing is, and Sheriff, I'll brag on you as well. I don't know if there's not one tool that you guys haven't legitimately asked for that was legitimately needed that wasn't purchased or wasn't obtained somehow by Sheriff Campbell for you guys.
Right.
And as well should be, because you guys are the tip of the spear.
And it's not just, it is for your safety too, but it's for every citizen here because I need y'all to have the tools to keep them safe.
Right.
You said something a while ago when you were sitting there, and I don't know if I admitted on radio, but either way, when you turned and told me you loved me when you thought you had to do something, I got a feeling what you're talking about is cutting the power, if I'm not mistaken.
That was one of the tasks I was referring to.
And from us, from me sitting there, when we're sitting there making these decisions, and y'all know this, and we talk about it after, we pray afterwards, and we met you down at the yards amongst all the gas and stuff or in the corner of the yard. That is a tough decision to make. Y'all knowing, because I've been that guy that's had to go cut the power, but I ain't been that guy that had 200 rounds come at us. Of course, ultimately, we end up with another solution. Once you tell us it can't be done from where we was at, because I think it was too close. We just couldn't get there. That's one of them decisions that you hate to make. And, y'all, going back on sort of Bill's training, if you notice, we try to stay quiet and let y'all, David does a good job of training. You all do a good job training the younger people. And I can't ask for no better. And I really can't, not just y'all, but the detectives, the negotiators, everybody, the road that secures, everybody's asked, how did we not get anybody shot? How'd you not get anybody shot? How'd you not get anybody hurt? Other than the one that got slightly injured.
To touch on that, the patrol did a great job last week evacuating all the houses so we could kind of handle what we needed to do.
I'm going to go ahead and tell a little secret. This didn't come, probably made world news in Russia, but what they don't know is at the same time we're doing that, there's a bridesmaid benefit going on, and they couldn't get their food. So in the middle of that, or right after that, y'all made sure that they got their food through for the ladies because some of them was getting pretty bad or tired. It's kind of cool point.
Yeah, there again, it's one of those things where we know what went on, and there's certain things that obviously we can't talk about because the case is still pending and there's things going on. But that was just one of those days where it was like, okay, here's another challenge, and to see people calmly, rationally go, okay, we don't have this. Where can we get this? This is what just happened. How are we going to handle this? Sheriff, and I think we've alluded to it already. You talked about the man being barricaded upstairs. Mm-hmm. Well, that's one of those things where we were rapidly coming to a point where we were going to have to make a decision to put these men in that house. And we know this man is firing a weapon of high enough caliber that he's causing damage to our Bearcat.
And Austin, what would have happened to that driver had we not had that Bearcat? Just why he's...
just like I was saying earlier about Heath and I, he wouldn't be here.
He wouldn't be here. We'd be carrying him out in a stretcher.
And like you made a great point, Sheriff, about, people forget that the career criminals especially, that their trade may be drugs or firearms, whatever it may be. like I said, that's their career. They're studying us. They're trying to get ahead of the game. So if the citizens ever hear a piece of equipment that they don't make, much sense of in their heads, or they can't refer to an event that would call for that, understand that we're trying to stay ahead of them, as they are, also trying to stay ahead of us. So
That's like I worry about, or I think about the officers yesterday and the suspect, which they killed. Good for them in the end. But how trained was he to be that proficient with arms? Know what caliber? There was just certain things that'll have to be evaluated. Yep. So we'll be back. This is our last break, and we'll be back in about 2.5 minutes.
More of the Good, the Bad, and the Guilty with Iredell County Sheriff Darren Campbell is coming up on 105.9. Now, back to more of the Good, the Bad, and the Guilty with Iredell County Sheriff Darren Campbell on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Welcome back to the last 10 minutes of the Good, the Bad, and the Guilty. And as always, give us a call, 844-788-3464. Go to the comment section on Facebook. Stream the video, WSIC News app. I told y'all it was going to be the fastest hour.
Yes.
It goes by quick.
Absolutely.
So, and we got to get pressed, so we'll wrap this up real quick. And Heath and Bill, I'll come back to you because I know I cut you off talking about the Bearcat while ago, and I apologize. Heath, you said something about. Okay, now he didn't tell us nothing about all these lights flashing on his phone. So
I think Joe's just wanted to mess with us.
Heath, you said something a while ago when we come back to break, and we want to make sure we thank the community. So feel free to take your opportunity.
Yeah, after last Saturday, in Mooresville, after the whole situation was over and we were headed back to the staging area, pretty much everyone in the community was outside, like thanking us, saying they're praying for us, and also handing out water, Gatorade, snacks, anything like that.
So they were all hooking y'all up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Take care of it.
Yeah.
And I got to say something else, and I did forget. I've got to give a shout out to Mooresville Police Department because they were right there with us the whole time, help us evacuate. I apologize for not mentioning that earlier, but it's great when they listen to us and we just sort of mesh together like a fishnet.
Absolutely.
It works well. So, Bill.
One thing that, Sheriff, we were talking about equipment. One thing we didn't have that you have put in the budget before that really took the place of having to put one of these guys in a very dangerous position. You want to take the caller and then I'll make my point, sir?
Yeah, he said one caller, but I got two buttons flashing. Oh, okay, there you go. Bill, you want to bring?
Hello, caller. Hello.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
All right. I was just thinking, like, how many members of your SWAT team are actually former military?
I am very big. If you know me and if you're around here, I am big on hiring military because it really helps with our rank structure, the professionalism. So, but Austin, you're out there. I know that our commander's Marine Corps, your Marine Corps. I know we got a couple Army. So I would probably say
Half or better?
I'd say yes, 60.
Right around 50%.
So if that answers your question, I'm really big on recruiting for our military. I try to work on help them with the pay with the honorable discharge. So probably about half right now on the tactical team.
I think that translates pretty good to such a role. My other question I had, I hate to even use the word copycat, but in light of all these incidents here recently, like, do you think there's something that's driving all these at the same time? Do you think it's just that maybe somebody sees it and they open up their mind to it and then they carry out something senseless like that? Or what do you think? Is there anything, rhyme or reason behind it?
I think the biggest thing is you watch the national climate, the media, the defund the police movement coming back. I honestly think, and the best word I can think is criminals feel they're entitled and there's no punishment for their crime. I think now is the best political time, economic time for criminals to commit crime, and there is no real recourse for them shooting and killing officers. And I think y'all agree with that. Mm-hmm. They tell us a lot. Our juveniles are telling us there's nothing you can do to us. They know that. So that's my opinion as sheriff and personally, because they're just too entitled now and they fear none of the consequences. Hope that answered your question.
Sure thing. We appreciate you guys. Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you for the support and thank you for calling in. We do appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
I think you had one more caller. Okay.
Hello, caller.
Hello, caller.
Hey there. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Hey, man. How are you?
Good afternoon.
Good. How are y'all doing?
Doing well.
Hey, just want to say thanks for all you guys do, and really enjoy always listening to the show as much as I can on Wednesdays. I kind of look forward to that in the afternoon, just kind of hearing the latest, what's going on. But 100% behind you guys, whatever equipment you need, and using drug dealer money, that's a great thing. And but just really appreciate it for the community and keeping us safe. I just have a question about what's the latest laws and rules on open carry for handguns.
It is still the same. There's nothing changed except I believe it was last March. I can't remember. Well, March before last was a repeal of the purchase permit. We still have a concealed carry law. There is some movement in the North Carolina General Assembly on a constitutional carry. I do not see that happening in a short session. So currently the laws are still the same. And as I've always said, restrictive gun laws only apply to those that follow the laws. The gangbangers, Crips, or the Blood Nations never listen to us anyway. So it has nothing changed. So, absolutely, we're a strong supporter of that and any way we can do. And, your first part of the comment, I want to say how much it does mean you take time to call us and the kind words and praise officers. And I know
absolutely
we have it so much on the community, and that means the world to us. So thank you for calling in.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, so I just want to, I don't have a concealed carry permit, but I do own a couple handguns. So would I be, if I was to carry it, in a holster and it was visible on my side when I'm out in public, is that acceptable, or you're saying that's not acceptable?
No. That's acceptable as long as you don't get. Bill, you explain the statute.
It is acceptable, sir. It's just you can't carry where a business or obviously in a school or a federal facility. Oh yeah, so it still applies to you, even though you're open carry. So there are still some laws that apply to you. And absolutely, if you've taken any alcohol or any impairing substance, whether it be prescription or illegal drug, obviously, you can't carry.
Sure, yeah. So just pretty much common sense kind of thing.
Yes, sir.
But,
that's it.
In general, as long as it's visible, and if I did have it in my car, say I was stopped at a checkpoint or whatever, I just always would say, hey, I have a handgun in my car, blah blah blah, just so there'd be I'm a law-abiding citizen, so
yes.
I'm gonna just
Yeah,
notify
And,
them.
Just
do
make
not
the
have it
officers
concealed.
aware,
Yeah,
yeah.
make the officers aware and not concealed.
Right,
All right, buddy.
exactly.
Well, hey,
Okay,
man, we
all right. Well,
appreciate
thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it.
Hey, have a good one. Thank you. Bill, you want? I know this is the third time you've been trying to get 149. You got to the budget? Something about the budget last year or earlier this year?
I got to the point where we had a man that we knew was barricaded in a second story room. We were rapidly getting to the point where we were going to have to make a decision to put these men's lives literally in danger, to go up a very narrow staircase to try to engage this individual who was continuing to shoot at us. Fortunately, we had the ability to ask another agency to borrow their drone because we haven't been able to purchase one yet because I think it was in the budget. And,
Robot.
Robot, yes. I hope that we can get one.
It's in the. We put in prior to these incidents happen. We put just in. It is an expense, and but it will save officers' lives because there's nothing like sitting there all day to find out what a guy's doing or a girl's going to do it upstairs. So,
well, I will be honest with you. When I found out that the robot was coming, and we were going to be able to deploy that robot instead of one of these men, my heart felt a little better, and my blood pressure went down a little bit.
And it makes my decision a lot better versus sending y'all in because we can't go on standoff for weeks. Right. We can't. I don't have the manpower. I don't have the leave. I can't feed you. And y'all eat a lot. I can't keep us there all day long. Not on the health.
And you can't keep the neighbors out of their homes.
You can't keep the neighbors. So we have to resolve a situation. Yes, we do have a robot. And when people say robot, it's not. It's a track vehicle with tracks. It's able to climb steps. It has a Bluetooth or a wireless capability to feed video back to us. And actually, some of them even have the capability to deploy gas. The
one that showed up the other day came in a little briefcase.
Yeah.
It wasn't a huge, ginormous, And
not only that, situations like that. We get into a lot of situations that I don't want to send a person into. And y'all know, dead bodies. There's a lot of different things we deal with. So, y'all, I can't say all the team members. And I tell y'all, and we see y'all, and we see in the hall, and we cut up, and we're like family. But from the top of the chain, from being, I won't say, or Bill and I, thank y'all for the job you do. Y'all are straight up some of the best I've seen in the state, and that goes for our whole team. I still ain't going to get Heath another raise, so.
One can hope, so.
Well, that's like the caller a while ago was talking about he enjoys listening. I said, he needs to send Justin an email, get us a raise.
That's right.
From 0 to 0. Look at Joe. And Joe a raise.
Yeah, and Joe.
Everybody's getting raises.
There you go.
Everybody.
Bill, I know you got a press release that you've been known to be, but thank y'all guys. Thank you.
Yeah, really, guys. Honestly, y'all were great. I do want to update the community sheriff. We have made the final arrests in the homicide investigation that we started on March 9th down on Home Drive in Mooresville. The men and women of our investigative unit, homicide investigators, have done literally have not stopped since this investigation.
Hundreds of hours.
Hundreds and hundreds of hours. Search warrants, DNA, phone downloads, going for video, re-interviewing witnesses, traveling out of state to interview people.
Yeah.
But we were able to secure, unfortunately, juvenile custody orders. I wish they were warrants, but they're still in custody.
Which is basically it's an arrest.
It is an arrest, and they are in custody. We have one 17-year-old and two 15-year-olds. Unfortunately, the law says that's all we're allowed to say at this time, so that's all we can say. But they are in custody. There again, the evidence is overwhelming against them, and that's why we worked with juvenile services.
And Bill, say those ages at what we dealt with, and then what Charlotte dealt with. What's the ages again?
17 and two 15-year-olds. Now let that sink in.
I know. Let that.
Now, this also goes back to, Sheriff, and I know in the earlier press release that we put out, and there again, we can't always say everything we want to in our press releases because the investigation was still going, but these juveniles that were in the house with the shooter were uncooperative. You guys were being shot at by a 17-year-old and two 15-year-olds.
Sorry, I shouldn't say idiots, but risking your life for them.
Sir.
So I just want the community to kind of step back, think about that. We had an incident where, God forbid, it happened again, but the similarities between what unfortunately transpired in Mecklenburg County and the two situations that we've had in the last month are eerie from my viewpoint. And I'm just glad that you guys are here, that you guys are amazing, and the whole CERT team is fabulous. Our homicide investigators are amazing. Just can't say enough about the work that they do and you guys do every day for the citizens here of Iredell County.
Yeah, and we got to remember, coming up on the eve, here it is, 1st of May, and this is Law Enforcement Appreciation Month. It's going to come up, and I just want to say, everybody out there's listening, we appreciate everything. But keep in your thoughts and prayers all the officers across this country, Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police, North Carolina Department of Adult Corrections, and our good friends, the U.S. Marshal Service. I hate to say it, but it won't be the last, and, bad day, so we'll be in it. But we look forward to seeing everybody next Wednesday. Thank you for joining us, and send us any comments on going. Thank you.
Serving you better than ever before. 105.9, 100.7. WSIC, Statesville, Morrisville, North Charlotte.